Tonight, as we go to air, there is war again in Europe. Russia has invaded Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin, 5 hours ago, ordered his army to attack Ukraine, and reporters heard explosions and artillery within minutes on the eastern border, and reported missile attacks on Kiev airport and Ukrainian command centres. There are also unconfirmed reports of Russian troops landing near Odessa in an amphibious attack. So far, it seems Russia is firing missiles and shells, launching airstrikes. No confirmed sign yet of a major land invasion. But Ukraine's defences are being degraded. This military base in Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, is in flames. Now, Vladimir Putin said today he had ordered what he'd called a special military operation for the supposed demilitarization and denazification of Ukraine, and warned Ukrainian soldiers to lay down their arms. But he also had a warning for the West. To anyone who would consider interfering from outside, if you do, you will face consequences greater than any you have faced in history. Putin's attack on Ukraine was preceded by cyber attacks on government agencies, plus malware attacks to knock out computers. And in so many ways, this looks like a rerun of something we've seen before, something terrible. I have this sick feeling that we are reliving the start of World War II, back when the world did nothing as Hitler first took over Austria, just as the world is doing nothing now. But first, to those of you who say Ukraine, that's nothing to do with us, you couldn't be more wrong. What you are watching could soon come to our own region. Eventually, who knows, to us. Russia is now a close ally of the Chinese dictatorship. They this month signed a joint pact that I warned you about, denouncing democracies and saying that the world order headed by the United States was over. This is like the Nazi Russian pact before World War II. China is now watching. If it sees Russia get away with this invasion on Ukraine, China knows it will get away with invading Taiwan in our region, which it also says is really part of its motherland. And after that, who's next? God save us all, and God save freedom. I'm showing you now live pictures from the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. It's now waiting for the worst, knowing the West will not send a single soldier to its defense against this new axis of evil. In fact, Putin timed his war announcement today to show his total contempt for world opinion, his conviction that the West is weak. His televised address announcing his attack came at the exact moment the United Nations Security Council met to condemn Russia and beg it to stop. The Security Council was told by the Secretary General of the United Nations, well, look, even that Secretary General had, like many, been fooled by Putin. He said, I've been fooled. But he tried one last time to plead for peace at about the very moment that Russia launched its attacks. What a waste of breath.
And I never believed in them, convinced that nothing serious would happen. I was wrong. And I would like not to be wrong again today.
All too late. Too late. The Ukrainian ambassador to the UN could only plead at the Security Council meeting as the news came in. He could only plead with a Russian chairman of that council. I mean, Russia is actually the chairman of the UN Security Council, with China next to him. Well, he pleaded with this Russian chairman to at least promise that Russia would not now bomb Ukrainian cities.
Now I would like to ask the ambassador of the Russian Federation to say on the record that at this very moment, your troops do not shell and bomb Ukrainian cities, that your troops do not move in the territory of Ukraine. You have a smartphone, you can call Lavrov right now.
The Russian ambassador, of course, didn't give him that assurance. And this invasion was always going to come, especially now with the West looking so weak. In fact, I have to say, staying with this analogy, I tell you, it reminds me of the start of World War II. This war already has its own Neville Chamberlain. You remember that British Prime Minister who met Adolf Hitler in 1938, the year before the war really broke out, and claimed he'd made a deal with Hitler for peace in our time, is what he said. Well, this time it was French President Emmanuel Macron who did a Chamberlain. He met Putin this month, was made to look stupid by Putin at the end of a long table, like some sort of supplicant. And then Macron declared peace in our time. He'd been given assurances, he said, by Putin that there'd be no attack. Well, more fool him. In fact, Putin's just fooled the world. He finally made clear in a TV speech just last Monday that all of Ukraine was actually Russian, every single bit of it, and he wanted it back. He wants to rebuild the Russian Empire with him as the new Tsar, starting with Ukraine. It really is that simple. So what now? Ukraine has 250,000 military personnel. That's nearly 5 times the size of ours. But Russia has 900,000, plus more nuclear warheads than any other country on earth. And if you wonder why Vladimir Putin waited for now with Joe Biden in charge in the White House, think this. Biden has projected weakness from the very start. For instance, of course, he abandoned Afghanistan to the Taliban in a withdrawal of total chaos. He let slip last month as well that he might not actually do much to save Ukraine either.
Russia will be held accountable if it invades, and it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a minor incursion and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, etc.
And so it's proved. Just like the West did nothing when Hitler first invaded Austria and then took parts of Czechoslovakia, did nothing until Hitler then invaded Poland too, we're at such a moment all over again. Now, we may think we're way down the queue of potential targets, particularly of China, out of harm's way, even if the share market today was smashed and oil and petrol prices are already rising. But remember, one day we may wonder why the world that hasn't saved Ukraine hasn't now come to save us.